Welcome back to another episode of What If Naruto Had a Big Brother? In this alternate Naruto universe, one small twist changes everything. What if Naruto wasn't alone? What if he grew up with someone stronger, smarter, and born to rewrite destiny itself? Today, we dive deeper into the story of Kaito Uzumaki, Naruto's powerful older brother whose existence shakes the entire Shinobi world. New alliances form, new enemies rise, and the future of Konoha may never be the same again. So sit back, relax, and get ready, because this episode is about to change everything. Kaito's voice dropped soft and steady. It's what keeps you going, your core. I used it because I didn't have the chakra to do the job back then. It helped save Mom, but it wasn't a full cure. That's why she had pain for so long. Naruto stared, the pieces sliding in place. So that's why Mom always hurt, and couldn't use chakra properly? Kushina smiled and hugged him tight. It was a small price to pay, baby. I got to watch you grow. And now, my son fixed me not long ago. I'm okay now, truly. They settled into silence for a moment. Kaito cleared his throat and said, "That's the full story, Naruto. Why Dad sealed the 9 tails in you and why we kept it quiet." Naruto wiped his eyes. I get it. Dad only did it because he believed in me. Kushina hugged him again, voice shaking. We never wanted this for you, Naruto-chan. Never. Kaito opened his mouth, then closed it. He swallowed, eyes distant. If the masked man hadn't attacked that night, this never would have happened, he muttered. Kushina nodded slowly. Your father wanted you to be a hero. A hero. Naruto blinked. Kaito leaned forward. Yeah. The plan was always to hide your Jinchuriki status. Only a handful knew. He shifted, expression hardening. But people started whispering after, partly because of me. Kushina blinked. Your fault. It ties back to Danzo, Kaito said. He told them, a meeting, an offer to work for Danzo in exchange for forbidden medical help, the refusal, then the leak. Shortly after I turned him down, the rumors started. He made sure people knew, about you, about Mom. Kushina's temper snapped. Her palms clenched, red chakra flaring like a live thing. That old bastard. She roared, hair lifting as anger spiked. How dare he spread lies about my baby? She paced, venom in every stomp. I'll rip him to shreds, you know. Naruto scooted back wide-eyed. Kaito put a steadying hand on Kushina's arm. Calm down, Mom. Why didn't you tell me? She demanded, voice raw. I would have gone and made him pay. Kaito rubbed the back of his head. You couldn't then. You couldn't use chakra properly, you were still healing. What would it have solved? And honestly, Hiruzen would have looked the other way anyway. Kushina huffed, deflating a little. Probably. Kaito's lips curled. Anyway, you don't have to worry about him now. He watched Kushina, then said, almost smug, I dragged him down. Exposed his tricks. Stripped him of influence. He's a rogue now. Kushina stared. Wait, you. Yeah. Kaito shrugged. I spoiled his plans. Took the heat off you. But the damage was done. The rumor spread, and people remembered the fear from that night. They needed someone to pin it on. Naruto's brow furrowed. So Danzo spread rumors because you wouldn't join him? Kaito nodded. Partly. And because of that, the villagers know. The third declared it an S-rank secret after the attack, but some people, like Danzo, made sure it leaked. Silence settled. Kushina stroked Naruto's hair. But not everyone hates you, Naruto-chan. There are people, Tuchi, our friends, who honored Dad's wish and treated you like the boy he wanted you to be. Kaito looked Naruto in the eye. Ignore the ones who don't matter. Don't waste time on people who won't see you. Focus on the ones who do. Naruto blinked up at him, a quiet strength slowly knitting back into his face. So, they hate the 9 tails, not me. Exactly, Kaito said. They fear what they don't understand. Kushina added softly, and the people who loved you anyway, that's the important part. Kaito cleared his throat. There's one more thing. The Biju tail beasts, they're not what people tell you. Naruto frowned. They're monsters, aren't they? They destroy and hate humans. Kaito shook his head. Not the whole truth. The Nine Tails attacked under someone's control. Madara before, the masked man that night. Biju were hunted, sealed, and turned into weapons. They've been used, not just feared. He looked to Kushina. Hashirama captured them and distributed them to other villages. They became tools of war. Kushina's voice went quiet. I used to hate the beast I carried. I resented it for my suffering. But maybe it suffered too. Kaito wrapped an arm around her shoulders. You didn't choose any of that, Mom. You were taken from home to be a vessel. No one asked you. Naruto swallowed. So the Nine Tails hates humans because we locked him up and made him a weapon? Yeah, Kaito said. Given the history, I don't blame him for fury. He's been used. He wanted freedom. Naruto's hand went to his stomach, trembling. Is there any way to release him? Kushina shook her head. Not without killing you, Naruto. We told you that. Kaito folded his arms. Even if there were a way, it's not the time. If the masked man is still out there, the moment the Biju is free, someone else will capture it. Naruto sagged. Then, after a beat, a resolve pushed through. Can we at least talk to him? Face to face. Kushina's eyes went wide. What? No, too risky. Kaito gave that gentle half-smile he used when he wanted someone to trust him. You told me once, the first step's the hardest. If we never try, we never move forward. Kushina bit her lip, torn, then exhaled. Okay. But I'm not leaving you two alone for a second. Naruto blinked. How do we even do that? He's inside me. Kaito grinned and lifted a fist. We project into your mindscape. Meditation, chakra link. You give us a fist bump, breathe, and we'll go in together. He extended his hand. Kushina mirrored him, lifting her fist to promise. Naruto took a breath, squeezed their hands, and nodded. Okay. Naruto's shoulders slumped. Oh, okay. Kaito glanced between them before he spoke. I think we should go see the Nine Tails. Talk to him, face to face. Kushina's eyes widened. Alarm flickered through her voice. What? No. Absolutely not. It's too dangerous. Her tone trembled. Even after everything. He's still dangerous, Kaikuin. If he sees me again, he might. He hates me. He's said it before. Kaito gave a gentle smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mom. Remember what you once told me? The first step is always the hardest. If we don't take it, we never move forward. He nudged her with a mild grin. We'll be careful. Kushina's hands knotted in her lap. She exhaled, torn, then bowed her head. All right. But I'm staying right next to both of you the whole time. Naruto blinked. Wait, how? Isn't he inside me? How do we visit him? Kaito raised a fist with a confident, almost boyish grin. We'll project into your mindscape. Give us a fist bump, meditate, and we'll go in together. Kushina mimicked him, lifting her fist. We'll be right there with you, Naruto. Promise. Naruto swallowed and nodded. The academy halls buzzed with ordinary morning chatter. Karen drifted in, head down, the strap of her bag slack over one shoulder. She slid into her usual seat, shoulders tight with something unsaid. Hinata's soft lavender eyes flicked up and, noticing the change, she asked gently, Good morning, Karen-chan. Is something wrong? Karen forced a smile. Morning, Hinata-chan. Her answer was thin. When Hinata asked where Naruto was, other students perked up, Ino, Choji with his snack, Shikamaru with his signature troublesome. Word spread, Naruto was missing. Karen whispered what she knew. His bed was empty. Kushina thought he'd gone with Kaito, but Kaito returned alone. Kaito had sensed Naruto's chakra near the Hokage monument. He and Kushina had gone to find him but hadn't come back yet. The class traded worry and plans. Go see him later, cheer him up, except Shikamaru, who muttered that they should leave him be. Ino bonked him for his callousness, chips and all. Water lapped softly beneath their feet as Kaito, Kushina, and Naruto stepped into the mindscape, a long dim corridor threaded with old pipes, water dripping into shallow pools. It felt empty, stripped down. Kaito smirked, the comment half teasing, half assessment. Kushina explained gently, the mindscape mirrors the heart. If it's bright inside, the world will be warm. If it's hurting, it will look like this. Naruto's silence said enough. Kaito led them forward. Kushina squeezed Naruto's hand. The corridor opened into a cavernous chamber. At the far end, a gate of colossal red logs barred the way, an iron lock engraved with sealing script holding the void at bay. Beyond, total black. A low growl rolled from the dark. A massive paw struck the gate with a thunderous crash. A claw slipped through the gap, stopping inches away. Two enormous eyes opened in the black, so vast the beast's body barely fit in the chamber. The Nine-Tails' presence hit them like a physical weight, a wave of killing intent that flattened the air. Naruto yelped and stumbled into the water. Kushina moved forward, eyes fixed. Kaito, oddly calm, let his chakra spread like a blanket and pushed the crushing aura back. Naruto's breath eased. Kaito glanced at Kushina with a sheepish grin. I underestimated how much he hates you, you know. You think, huh? Kushina shot back. Kaito stepped forward and called casual and loud, well, hello there. The giant fox narrowed its gaze. You're that brat with the chakra chains, it rumbled. Are you here to take my chakra? No, Kaito answered steadily. We're here to apologize. Silence hung heavy. Kaito bowed once. I'm sorry for what my mother and father and this village did to you. I don't blame you for what happened 10 years ago. If I were in your place, I probably would have done the same. No one deserves to be locked away for something they didn't choose. Kushina stepped forward, head bowed. I'm sorry too. I treated you like a monster. I thought I was protecting people. I was wrong. Her voice trembled but was earnest. The Nine-Tails' response was a savage snort. You think apologies erase decades of being used and trapped? It snarled, claws scraping the gate until sparks flew. I want to tear you apart for every hour I've suffered. Kaito met the fury without flinching. If you're looking for blame, don't look at Mom. That seal, the one on you, came from Lady Mito. She was taken from her home to become a vessel. Mom was 8. She had no choice. He turned his words outward, sharp as truth. Hashirama captured the Biju. He set the whole thing in motion. They made people into weapons. The killing intent dimmed a fraction. Curiosity warred with rage. If you want proof we mean it, Kaito continued, open the seal. Let him out. The fox's eyes flared. Let him out? Release me, and your little brother dies. Kaito's face hardened. I won't risk Naruto. If I release the seal and the fox frees himself from Naruto, it kills him. I'm not willing to do that. He straightened. I'll release the seal when Naruto is strong enough to face you and not be consumed, when he can stand on his own. Until then, I won't gamble his life to prove a point. He added quietly, besides, there's another danger, a group hunting Biju. The masked man leads them. They'll come after Naruto if they can. Kushina's ears pricked. The masked man. Kaito nodded. Akatsuki. They're gathering S-rank shinobi and hunting Jinchuriki. If they learn about Naruto, he becomes a target. He kept his voice low, apologetic. I should have told you sooner. I didn't want you to worry. Kushina's expression tightened. Naruto's hands clenched. Kaito glared up at the Nine-Tails. I don't want Naruto relying on your chakra. I want him to fight with his own strength. The fox's rumble softened, not in friendliness but in attention. Kaito mentioned rumors, Rinnegan eyes, the 10 tails, and the beast's gaze sharpened. Kushina stepped forward again, softer now. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I thought I was doing right, but I was wrong. The Nine-Tails' claws stilled. It rested its massive head on its paws and made a sound that was not quite acceptance but not outright fury either. Kaito offered the underline of a smile. We're not asking for forgiveness. We want a chance to start over. I'm Kaito Uzumaki. This is my mom, Kushina, and my little brother, Naruto. What is your name? The fox snorted. You have not earned the right to know my name. Kaito shrugged, unbothered. Fair enough. Naruto, tiny and brave in front of something so immense, stepped forward. His voice was small but steady. Mr. Fox? Could we be friends? For a long moment the Ninetales stared at the boy who carried it inside. Then, with an almost imperceptible shift, it said, if you can prove you are not like the others, maybe. Naruto's grin split his face. I'll work hard to earn your trust, you know. The fox's response was a low growl and an order to be left alone. Get out. I want to sleep. Kaito laughed and nodded. All right. Time to go. Kushina bowed her head once more, whispering another soft apology. They turned to leave. Naruto bumped fists with his brother and mother, and in a blink, they were gone. From behind the gate the Ninetales watched them depart, thoughtful in a way that didn't look like forgiveness but didn't look like hatred either. It lay its head back on its paws and slowly drifted toward sleep, the chamber sinking back into stillness. Kaito glanced at Naruto, eyebrow raised in mild surprise. The Ninetales studied the boy a long moment before it rumbled, low and gravelly. If you can prove to me you're not like the others, then maybe. Naruto's face lit up. He nodded so fast it looked like he might spring. Then I'll work hard to earn your trust, you know. His grin was wide, honest. The Ninetales let out a deep, dismissive growl. Whatever. Now get out of here. I want to sleep. Kaito chuckled, scratching the back of his head. Well, guess we should get going. Kushina gave the fox one last apologetic look. I'm sorry, again. She turned to Kaito and Naruto. All right, let's go. We shouldn't bother him anymore, you know. Naruto hesitated. But how do we get out? Kaito lifted his fist. Same way we came in. Kushina mirrored him, raising her fist too. Naruto bumped fists with both of them. Then, in a single second, the three of them vanished. From behind the timbered gate, the massive fox watched them leave. A quiet snort escaped it. Those two, the brat and his brother. We'll see if they're different, or just like the rest. It rested its head on its paws, eyes closing slowly as the chamber fell back into silence. The village woke under a clean, gold morning. Birds threaded through the air while sun washed the rooftops. At the academy training ground a crowd of genin gathered, clustered around a wooden podium. Chunin exam guards stood at the edges, vigilant. Teams had come from many places, Suna, Kiri, Amigakure, the waterfall, but two nations were conspicuously absent, IWA and Kumo. Over 100 teams had registered. Many of the faces were new. From a second-story window, Kaito watched with his arms folded, scanning the field for familiar marks. Itachi stood beside him, composed in standard Jonin garb. Hataru leaned in the window frame to Kaito's left, flipping through the registration list with practiced eyes. Kaito squinted. I think I've seen that kid before. Hataru followed his finger down to a small Konoha team near the field's edge. Who? It's Saisu Kamano, Hana said, stepping in with a stack of papers. He was in our class, graduated with me and Izumi. Kaito snapped his fingers. Right, he was always trying to outdo me and Itachi during practicals. Itachi nodded once. If he hasn't changed, he'll be the same as ever. Hataru found Saisu's name on the list. Saisu Kamano, first attempt. Takuma, Yashiro Yukiso. 45 D rank, 35 C rank missions so far. Decent, she mused. Itachi agreed. Kamano's track record was solid enough. The window door creaked. Hana handed over the remaining forms and peered down where the three of them lingered. What are you lot staring at? Kaito grinned. Part of being a shinobi is looking cool, you know. He waggled a finger. Make a good entrance, Itachi. Below, a flock of crows gathered and merged, Itachi appeared on the podium with that same lazy, unreadable expression. He addressed the field in a voice that cut through the murmurs. Good. He held up a sealed folder. Each team received a folder on registration. Inside, information on your target. You must locate this person in the village and steal 2 cards they carry, the golden and the red. Those cards hold the coordinates to the second stage. You have 2 hours. Heads turned. Itachi's rules were spare and sharp. If your target spots you, you fail. If civilians spot you 3 times, you fail. Cause damage, create panic, or interfere with other teams, and you'll be removed. He let the rules settle, then added, begin. Itachi dissolved into crows and vanished. The courtyard erupted as teams scattered. Saisu Kimono and his teammates moved fast, leaping through the canopy toward coordinates they'd parsed from the cards. The forest gate loomed ahead, tension thickened the air. A chunin checked them in, 5 minutes left. Kimono crouched on a branch, jaw tight. That's the best lead we've got. By the forest of Death Gate, 2 figures sat in the shade behind the main stand. Kaito, balancing on a chair and casually munching a fried chicken burger, and Hotaru, flipping through reports while absent-mindedly eating fries. A chunin approached with a clipboard. You're lucky, only 15 teams made it through the first stage, the chunin said. Hotaru's eyebrows lifted. Only 15? The chunin shrugged. Some got caught by their targets. Others were seen by civilians. A few tried stupid distractions and were disqualified. Itachi's rules were strict. Kaito hopped down from the table and addressed the field with a casual grin. Good that you made it through. But the second test starts now. Whispers spread. He let them swell, then spoke clearly. This round mirrors wartime conditions. Inside the Forest of Death are injured shinobi behind enemy lines. Each one carries critical intel. Your mission: find an injured shinobi and bring their intel to the tower at the forest's center. He let the weight of that sink in. You will face squads of chunin acting as enemy forces. If you're subdued, you're out. This is a team mission, move together. If someone can't walk, carry them. You have 3 days to reach the tower. Plan smart. Protect each other. Teams hushed, strategy forming like quicksilver in their heads. Kaito pointed to a booth where Hotaru waited. Sign the waiver, get your gate assignment, and a chunin will escort you to your start point. Good luck, and try not to die, you know. He strolled to the booth, sat beside Hotaru, and began flipping through registration forms as the line formed. Rain tapped the Hokage's office window in a steady, soft rhythm. Tsunade stood arms crossed, watching the village blur through the wet glass. Shikoku and Fugoku were at her desk, the 3 of them bound in an uneasy consultation. Fugoku suggested precautionary moves toward the border. Shikoku warned about provocation. The knock at the door cut through the tension. Kaito poked his head in, file in hand. How's the exam? Tsunade asked. Second stage started, Kaito replied. Only 15 teams cleared the first. He slid a report across the desk. Shikoku's brow climbed. Less than 10% made it through. Tsunade blinked, incredulous. Will we even have enough for a final round? Kaito shrugged with a sheepish grin. Maybe we made it a little too hard. Still, I think 10 or so will make finals. Tsunade retrieved a sealed scroll from a drawer and pushed it across the desk. This came earlier, delivered by Akiri Jonin. Kaito broke the seal and scanned the message. His face narrowed. The Mizukage wants to attend the chunin finals. Tsunade's eyes hardened. A Kage attending the finals is normal, refusing is dangerous. But Yagura coming here in person? That raises questions. Fugoku and Shikoku exchanged looks. Yagura is under the masked man's influence, Fugoku warned. This could be a cover. Shikoku nodded. We should deploy a squad to the border quietly, no show of force. Tsunade watched the rain a moment longer, then straightened. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best. She turned to Kaito. I want you with me when we receive the Mizukage. Kaito's eyes sharpened, he nodded without hesitation. His mind was already racing through contingencies. Yagura wants to attend the Chunin exam finals? What the hell is Obito planning? Kaito's mind raced. Tsunade gave a short nod. Yeah. Kaito's voice dropped to himself. Why would Yagura come in person? Is this about the Yuki clan? We don't know, Tsunade said. And we can't exactly refuse. A Kage attending the finals is normal. Turning him away would be seen as disrespect. But, Shikoku added, Yagura's under the masked man's influence. This is risky. Fugoku set his scroll down. Could be a cover for something worse. An attack on the village. We should deploy a small force to the border as a precaution. Shikoku agreed. Do it quietly. If it's nothing, we don't want to escalate things. Tsunade moved to the window. Rain blurred the village into a soft gray veil. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best, she said quietly, then looked at Kaito. I want you with me when the Mizukage arrives. Kaito nodded, already running through contingencies in his head. The sun was high and hot over the training ground. The smell of dust and sweat hung in the air. Kaito moved like water. Calm, precise. Naruto threw a punch. Kaito ducked, grabbed the wrist, and with one smooth twist flung him into Karen, who just appeared behind him. Ah! Karen yelped as the two tumbled. Kimimaro swung. Kaito slipped past, stomped into his stomach, and sent him sprawling. Guren charged with a storm of strikes. Kaito weaved and swept her legs out. Haku flipped in, light as ever, but Kaito met him clean, landing a solid kick that slid the boy back. Naruto groaned from the dirt. At this rate, I don't think we'll ever land a hit on him, you know. Karen grumbled, shaking crumbs out of her hair. 'Cause he's not holding back enough. Guren huffed. I don't even think he can go easy. Kimimaro dusted off his sleeves and stood. Kaito clapped once. All right. That's enough sparring. They all regrouped, breathing hard but eyes still sharp. Good work, Kaito said, rolling his shoulders. Now, ninjutsu. He formed a seal. 4 shadow clones popped. 1 clone for each of you. I'll teach something new. The clones paired off with the students and led them to corners of the field. Naruto hung back beside the real Kaito. So, am I learning the same as them? Naruto asked. Kaito smirked. Not exactly. Time to start your Rasengan training. Naruto's face exploded with excitement. Wait, seriously? Yeah. You'll need a year and a half or so to master it. But start now and you'll have it before graduation. Kaito's tone turned firm. Rule 1. Don't use it in sparring. Rasengan is A rank. Hit someone unprepared and you could kill them. Naruto straightened. Okay, Kainai. Kaito grabbed 2 water balloons from a stump and tossed one to Naruto. First step, chakra rotation. Make the water spin inside. No squeezing. He showed him. The balloon rotated until pop. Like that. Naruto folded his brow, focused, and nothing happened. Huh? Why not? Kaito's look was flat. Did you think it'd be easy? Rasengan is peak shape transformation. It's A rank for a reason. Naruto scowled. This is gonna be harder than it looks. Yep. Kaito held up a paper. No clones for this. Your clones will work on water nature transformation. I want you to master both by graduation, no shortcuts. Naruto groaned. Ah man. Double the work. Exactly. You'll thank me later. Kaito nodded toward the balloon. Rotate chakra in all directions, not just one. Naruto glared at the balloon like it owed him money and dove in. It had been 6 months since Naruto and Kurama had that first conversation. Kaito had pushed him harder since. Shadow clone method limited to 4 clones to keep him from burning out. Naruto had wind affinity. Water nature was rougher for him. Kaito's goal wasn't shortcuts. He wanted Naruto strong on his own. He knew Naruto's soul was Azura's, huge potential. Train right, train hard, and Naruto could surpass legends. Kaito planned to make sure he tried. Kakashi landed quietly beside Kaito, hands in pockets, watching Naruto tackle the balloon. Isn't it early to teach him Rasengan? Kaito shook his head. Perfect timing. He'll have it by graduation. Kakashi asked about clones and Kurama access. Kaito admitted the risk, and then added, "We've come to an understanding with the Kyuubi." Kakashi blinked. "You talked to him?" "We did," Kaito said. "Told him a few home truths. Tailed beasts aren't mindless, just hurt and misunderstood." He watched Naruto wrestle with the water balloon and fell quiet. Kakashi, who'd just returned from a mission, mentioned he'd heard the Mizukage might visit. Kaito hummed and told him the plan. If Yagura's visit is a provocation, Kiri's next Mizukage might handle it. Shursui and 500 shinobi were being sent to the border as precaution. Kakashi was on standby. "If Yagura's here to start a war, I'll kill him," Kaito said flatly. Kakashi raised an eyebrow but let it pass. The two of them watched Naruto yell at the balloon until the kid finally, slowly, painfully, made the water spin. Kaito nudged, "Come by for dinner." Kakashi tried to refuse, but Kaito leaned in. "Mom's been asking about you. She treats you like a little brother. You're coming." Kakashi sighed, then nodded. "All right. I'll be there at 7. He left in a swirl of leaves. Kaito turned back just in time to see Naruto finally make the balloon tremble. Later, the kitchen was warm and full. Kushina hummed, finishing the pot she'd been stirring. Karen set the table. Kaito padded in, towel over his neck, grabbed a glass. "Where's everyone?" Kushina glanced at the clock. "Naruto's getting ready. The others should be here any minute, you know." Just then Naruto barreled in, hair damp, barefoot. "Mom, is dinner ready yet? I'm starving, you know." Kushina laughed. "Yup. Almost." A knock sounded at the door. "I'll get it, Mom." Kaito crossed the living room and opened up. Haku, Guren, Kimimaro, and Kakashi stood on the porch. Kakashi holding a bottle of wine and offering a lazy wave. "Yo. Hope I'm not late." "Come in, guys," Kaito grinned. "Mom just finished cooking, you know." They removed shoes and filed in. Kakashi handed the wine to Kaito, sheepish. "Picked it up on the way." Kaito handed it to Kushina. She peered at the bottle, eyebrow twitching. "Wine? What for?" Kakashi mumbled something about not coming empty-handed. Kushina softened. "You don't have to bring anything. Your family." She swatted him gently with a towel. "Next time, fruit. Save your money." They sat, new big table fit for 10, and the curry steamed hot in the center. Laughter and teasing flowed around the room. Naruto and the kids were their usual noisy selves. Kaito, Kushina, and Kakashi kept quieter until Kushina leaned in with a grin. "So, Kakashi," she asked between scoops of rice, "when are you marrying Kahayo?" Kakashi choked on his tea, eyes wide under the mask. What? Kushina tilted her head. "You are dating her, right?" Kakashi fumbled, flustered. I haven't thought that far." Kushina's tone went soft. "Do you like her?" Kakashi tried to deflect. Kushina persisted. "Think you could spend your life with her?" After an awkward pause, he gave a small nod. Kushina smiled warmly. "Don't keep her waiting. You're not getting any younger, and shinobi lives are short." Kaito choked mid-bite as Kushina teased that he and Guy might have had a thing, which sent Kakashi into a crimson panic above the mask. Kushina laughed and ruffled the air. "I'm kidding, mostly. But really, don't let her slip away." Kakashi sighed, raised his bowl. "I'll think about it." Kushina topped off his rice with a maternal grin. The kitchen filled with warmth, food, family, and the small quiet of people doing their best to protect what mattered. Kushina sighed and set her chopsticks down. "Kakashi, I'm trying to help here. You're like a little brother to me and Minato, you know. And you were his favorite student." Kakashi looked down at his plate, quiet. "So," Kushina's voice softened. "Do you think you could spend the rest of your life with her?" Kakashi hesitated, then nodded very quietly. "Yeah, I think I could." Kushina's face lit with a warm smile. Then don't keep her waiting. You're not getting any younger, and you know how short a shinobi's life can be. She paused, mischief creeping back in. To be honest, I was losing hope with you. I almost thought you and Guy had a thing going on, with how many girls you turned down. Kaito, mid-bite, choked so loudly everyone jumped. Gawk. Kakashi's eyes went wide above the mask. What? Me and Guy? That's not. Kushina burst out laughing. I'm kidding. Well, mostly. Kaito was still coughing, red-faced. Kakashi looked horrified. Kushina patted his shoulder, still chuckling. I'm just glad you found someone. Kahayo's a sweet girl. Don't let her slip away, you know. Kakashi exhaled and lifted his bowl. I'll think about it. Good. Kushina topped off his rice with a satisfied grin. Late morning sun pours over the village gates, long shadows stretching across the road. A lone bird hops onto the guard booth and cocks its head. Inside, Izumo stamps a final form and hands it back to a travel-worn merchant. All right, everything checks out. You're cleared to enter. The man nods politely and waves his caravan forward. Kotetsu flops into his chair with a groan. Man, it's been non-stop since sunrise. Izumo rubs his neck. What did you expect? Chunin finals are tomorrow. Half the fire countries showing up. Kotetsu slams his head on the desk. Still think we made a mistake volunteering for gate duty this week. I swear I've stamped enough paper to wallpaper the Hokage tower. Izumo smirks. Didn't hear you complaining when that vendor girl from Tanzoku town walked in. Kotetsu mumbles into the desk. That was before my spine fused with this chair. A new group approaches and Izumo straightens. A lazy voice calls from behind them. Yo, Izumo. Kotetsu. Kaito strolls up, taiyaki in hand and a small bag swinging. He drops a warm paper bag on the desk. Picked up a few extras. You guys want some? Kotetsu's eyes light up. Now you're speaking my language. Kaito leans against the booth, takes a bite, and glances over the registration scrolls. He's relaxed on the surface, but his Kagura's mind-eye is running quietly, tracking chakra signatures, watching for one in particular. Yagura. Only a handful know the truth. Yagura wasn't himself. The masked man had been pulling strings, and the village was on edge. Kaito keeps that to himself. Why's everything felt so tense lately? Kotetsu asks, once the bustle dies down. Kaito shrugs. Precaution. The Mizukage visiting out of the blue throws people off. With Yagura's history and the Yuki clan nearby, Lady Tsunade's just being careful. Izumo nods. Makes sense. Kaito's expression tightens. He turns and walks toward the gates. 3 chakra signatures spike on the horizon. Kotetsu and Izumo exchange looks as dust rises and 3 figures land before the village. A woman in a Mizukage's hat leads a small delegation. Ao and Mangetsu flank her. Mangetsu's eyes lock on Kaito and stay there. The woman lifts her hat and smiles. Well, you've gotten even more handsome since we last met, Kaito-kun. Kaito blinks. Mei-san? You're the new Mizukage. Ao steps forward, formal. That's Mizukage-sama to you. Kaito yields a polite nod. Welcome to Konoha. I'll be your escort. Please follow me, I'll bring you to Lady Hokage. Mei offers a faint smile. I'll be in your care, Kaito-kun. They thread through the market streets, vendors shouting, children darting by, life thrumming. Mei remarks on how lively the village is. Kaito keeps one hand near his seal technique, casual but watchful. Mei's voice ripples with steel beneath the charm. You don't seem particularly happy to see me. We expected Yagura, Kaito says bluntly. You showing up was a surprise. Mei's smile turns sly. You're underestimating me. Kaito doesn't press. He only notes that taking Yagura down quietly wasn't small work. Mei's answer is calm. She and Mangetsu handled the matter. Kaito's sealed intelligence helped. Ao frowns. Mei asks him to keep the matter private. He does. They walk on. Kaito's clone melts to the rooftops without fanfare when he senses something else. Mei doesn't press. Inside Ichiroku, bowls clatter and broth steams. Naruto slurps the last of his fourth bowl and bellows for another. Tucci obliges with a laugh. Choji and Kiba join the chorus. Shikamaru exhales and drags himself up. Ayam returns from delivery, says the Mizukage is already in the village. Kaito is escorting her. Naruto bolts out, coins clutched, dragging Kiba and Choji with him. Up on a rooftop, the four peers stare down at the procession below. Kiba notes the huge sword. Naruto wonders why Mizukage is a woman. A shadow clone disappears from Naruto's seat. The kids jump when Kaito appears. "What are you doing here?" Kaito snaps. He notices the rooftop spies, then calmly produces chakra chains that snare them all and says, "Since you find the academy so boring, I'll supervise your training today." One blink later, the rooftop is empty. Kaito knocks on the Hokage's council hall door. Tsunade opens. Fugaku and Shikoku stand nearby. Mei, Ao, and Mangetsu enter. Formalities follow. Tsunade gets straight to the point. "What brings you to our village?" Mei answers evenly. She's come to announce herself as Mizukage and to propose a treaty, a trade agreement that could benefit both nations. The room meditates on the oddity, but Mei stresses that Kirigakure under her isn't the same as before. She vows cooperation, not hostility. Then she requests one more thing, to visit the Yuki clan. Tsunade's gaze sharpens. Konoha protects the Yuki, but Mei insists she only wishes to apologize, sincerely. Tsunade agrees to arrange it, making clear the clan has the final say. Tsunade turns to Kaito. "You'll continue as liaison and escort for the Mizukage. See that she's protected and her schedule runs smoothly." Kaito inclines his head. "Understood, Lady Hokage." Kushina didn't hesitate. In a single smooth motion she scooped him up into her arms and bolted out of the house like a gust of wind, the screen door slamming shut behind them. The village blurred past, rooftops, market stalls, the Hokage monument, until Kushina's feet hit the training ground soil. She didn't slow until she burst through the heavy doors of the small medical outbuilding behind the training fields, where a handful of jonin medics kept irregular hours for emergencies. The sudden arrival made the on-duty medics snap to attention. A red-haired blur in bare feet carrying a pale young man is not something they saw every day. Kaito Uzumaki. One of them called, recognition and alarm mixing in his voice. "By the 9, what happened?" Kushina's voice was fierce though ragged. "He thinks he messed everything up. He's having trouble breathing. Get the quinine and the restraint herbs, and call Lady Tsunade now." The medics moved with trained speed. Kushina never let him go. She eased Kaito down on a padded table and planted both hands on his shoulders, forcing his gaze until his lids fluttered. For a heartbeat he looked as if he might slip back under, darkness pooling at the edges. Then his eyelids cracked open and he focused on her. "Kai, look at me," she said softer. "You're safe. I've got you. Breathe with me." He tried. His breaths were shallow, jagged little things that burned as they came in. He was shaking, not from fever but from the aftershocks of a mind that had sprinted too far ahead of its body. His voice, when it came, was hoarse. I accelerated it, Kochin. The Akatsuki. The window, it's earlier. 24 months. No. They'll come for Naruto when he's 13. He won't be ready. I broke the rhythm. I made the timeline collapse. Kushina's eyes hardened, then softened, a mother's fury and a mother's calm braided together. The medics fussed, the quinine, a calming tincture, a band of sealing cloths to steady his chakra, but Kushina held his trembling hands, feeling the wild, spare panic in them like a live wire. "Kaikuin," she said, "steady now, listen. You did a lot of good. You've always wanted to protect him. Panicking doesn't fix anything. Tell me exactly, what did you read? Who reported what?" He forced it out in staccato bursts, each fragment like a shard. Mukai's field report, the mention of Asset 3, the notebook line about Akatsuki's 2-year break, the echoing memory that his meddling with Kiri had altered timing. The words tumbled and tangled. The medics transferred them into notes with furrowed brows. Tsunade would need them, so would Kakashi Itachi, anyone who could move fast and think in the dark. Someone darted out to summon Tsunade. Kushina didn't wait for her. She knew better than to let Kaito lie in that spiraling alone. She put both palms to his chest, closed her eyes, and drew a thin strand of her chakra into his back, a mother's seal of warmth and steadiness, an Uzumaki lullaby more felt than seen. Kaito's breaths, fighting and shallow, began to lengthen. The edges of his panic dulled, not gone, but contained enough for him to string words into strategy instead of collapse. When Tsunade arrived, hair in a loose knot, eyes instantly assessing, Kaito was breathing at a steadier clip, leaning into Kushina's presence like a child into a shelter. The fifth looped an eye over the medic's report and the scrap of Kaito's notebook, one of them already carried in. "You read his notes?" she asked, voice flat. "He altered the timeline?" Tsunade's stare was clinical, but Kushina saw something behind it, a reckoning. He thinks his interference with Kirigakure sped Akatsuki's operations. The field report shows assets going dormant for 24 months, but the tracking notes say that asset extraction was shifted. He says that means the Akatsuki will move sooner, before Naruto is ready. Tsunade folded her arms and let out a slow breath. "All right. Panic isn't useful. But neither is denial. We'll treat this as credible until proven otherwise. Who else knows?" "Just a handful," Kaito rasped, hoarse but focused now. "You, Shikoku, Fugaku, Kakashi, Mei and Mangetsu knew about Yagura. I told no one else. I wasn't supposed to," he broke off. The old guilt was there, a constant ache. Being secretive to protect people had a way of making you carry the whole burden alone until it snapped you. Tsunade nodded. "Good. Keep it tight. We'll convene a response council. I'll mobilize intel teams to verify Akatsuki activity. Every known contact Mukai recorded, every dormant node, double time. If they have moved the window, we accelerate Naruto's training timeline, but quietly. We cannot set him up to be the target of panic, we set him up to be prepared." She glanced at Kushina, then back to Kaito. "You did well finding this, however it happened. Fixing it is harder, but panicking won't help. We'll need plans, contingencies, and allies. Do you have the notebooks?" Kaito nodded, throat tight. "I left them on the floor. I dropped them." "Get them. And then sleep. 5 minutes, count them if you have to. You aren't useful if you aren't functional." Tsunade's tone was sharp but not unkind. It carried the steadiness of a leader who knew nerves had to be turned into plans. Kushina squeezed his fingers. "You heard her. You don't carry this alone." Her own voice was low, private. "We will make it right, together." Kaito's face was pale, but his jaw set. The panic that had almost swallowed him turned into something narrower. Focus folded around guilt and fear until it hardened into resolve. He pictured Naruto asleep on the Hokage's head, small and defiant. He thought of the Akatsuki's silhouettes from his notes. He thought of every training session he'd signed Naruto up for and every one he'd still missed. "I'll call Kakashi. Itachi," he murmured. "We'll tighten security, verify the intel, and if it's true, we bring Naruto's training forward. No theatrics. No alarm. We do it right." Tsunade let out a small, grim smile. "Good. And Kaito?" He looked up. "Keep the Edo Tensei work locked away. You've toyed with fire enough for 1 week." He swallowed and a small, almost sheepish grin flickered. "Understood." Outside, the village moved on. The market's hum, children's laughter, the ordinary that made everything worth protecting. Inside the little medical room, plans were already taking shape, lists being made, seals drawn, messages being sent. Kushina stayed by his side like a lighthouse. Kaito drew breath and, shakily, rose to stand. The panic hadn't vanished, but it had new purpose now, not regret for what he'd done, but fire for what he would do to fix it. He walked out of the room with Kushina at his elbow, notebook clenched in his fist, heading toward the Hokage tower where Tsunade would call the council and begin turning his worst mistake into a strategy that might still buy them time. Kaito stared at the scroll for a long moment, the ink lines blurring slightly before sharpening again as his breathing finally evened out. His heartbeat was still a little fast, but the crushing pressure in his chest had loosened. Not gone, just held together by something steadier. A thread. A plan. He pushed himself off the bed, feet hitting the wooden floor quietly. The room was dim, the lantern beside his desk casting a soft glow over the open scrolls, the notes, the 2 books he'd dropped before collapsing. Everything was exactly where his panic had left it. Kaito crossed the room slowly, fingers brushing over the edges of the scroll until they reached the one he'd been working on. He sank into the chair, his mind turning gears again, not panicking now but calculating. It could work, he muttered under his breath. He reached out, pulling a fresh sheet of parchment toward him. He uncapped a pen, dipped it into ink, and began writing. Not long paragraphs, just short, sharp lines. Points. Directives. Quiet steps that could shift the path without anyone noticing. Naruto's training. Mukai's intel. The Akatsuki's timeline. Countermeasures. Backup measures. Contingencies. He didn't need titles. He already knew what each line meant. He wrote faster, the scrit-scrit of his pen the only sound in the room. His gaze flicked toward the corner of his desk where the Edo Tensei notes sat. Improved, refined, dangerous. Kaito stared at them for a few quiet seconds, then closed the notebook and slid it aside. Not now. Not unless he had absolutely no choice. He exhaled slowly, rubbing at the bridge of his nose before pulling out another scroll, a blank, fresh one. He started sketching out sequences of chakra conditioning exercises for Naruto, short bursts, shadow clone compatible, undetectable. He'd train him early morning before the others woke. Late nights when everyone slept. He'd use covers, chakra control, endurance, academy prep. Nothing that raised suspicion. Then he paused, his mind shifting. Mukai. He needed confirmation. Kaito reached under the desk for a small case, opened it, and pulled out a folded strip of specially made sealing paper. He wrote a short coded message. Only a few characters, but enough that Mukai would understand. Confirm window. 24 months? He sealed it with a chakra pulse, rolled it up, and set it aside for morning. He already knew the exact courier line to slip it through. He leaned back slightly, eyes flicking toward the cabinet. Quietly, he stood and walked toward it. He retrieved a small wooden box from the top shelf, emptied it, and placed the Edo Tensei notebook inside before sealing it shut with a single Uzumaki seal. He set it deep in the back of the drawer. Out of sight. Out of reach. He pressed his hand to the drawer front, sealing it with another layer. A chakra lock only he and his mother could open. Then he turned back to the desk. Naruto, he murmured. His eyes softened for a moment. He needed to be ready. Not rushed. Ready. Kaito dipped his pen again and wrote a few more notes. Shadow clone limit stays at 4. Rasengan, no shortcuts. Water nature, daily clone rotation. Mental conditioning, gradual. Combat instinct, disguised drills. Schedule, never predictable. Cover story, academy practice plus brotherly training. Naruto wouldn't even realize he was being prepared for war. It was better that way. Kaito set down the pen, flexing his wrist, and glanced at the window where a sliver of moonlight filtered in. There was still one more thing. He rolled out another parchment and began writing a short list of names. Only those he trusted enough to face the worst: Kakashi, Itachi, Shisui, Fugoku, Gai, Hataru, and Tsunade. No one else. This wasn't information you tossed around. One slip, one whisper, one misunderstanding, and the second great cataclysm would begin before they were ready. He rested the pen on the desk and closed his eyes, breathing in deeply. The panic attack earlier had scared him. But now there was only focus. Resolve. He reopened his eyes, the amber in them steady. He would fix this. No matter what it took. He stood, stretched once, and blew out the lantern. The room dimmed into a soft twilight glow from outside, the scrolls still spread neatly on his desk like pieces of a larger plan. Kaito moved to his bed and lay down slowly, one arm draped over his eyes. Sleep tugged at him almost immediately, exhaustion finally catching up. Just before he drifted off, the faintest whisper left his lips, barely audible. I'll make it right. Kushina crossed her arms. I'll bring you food to your room. You haven't even eaten lunch yet, you know. Now go take a bath, I'll bring it to you. Kaito sighed but nodded, heading down the hallway. Kushina's frown deepened as she watched him go. Is Kai all right? Karen asked quietly. Kushina nodded. Yeah. He's just tired. Kaito slid open the door to his room and stepped inside. His eyes landed on the 2 books he'd dropped earlier, still exactly where they had fallen before everything spiraled. He bent down, picked them up, and let out a slow breath. With a quiet thump, he dropped onto his bed, arms spread out, eyes fixed on the ceiling. His fingers drifted absent-mindedly to the necklace resting against his chest, the one Minato had given him. Cold metal. A familiar weight. A reminder of the path he was trying so hard not to break. What am I going to do? The thought circled like a storm. His eyes drifted sideways. The scroll on his desk lay open, untouched since this morning. Kaito sat up slowly. The heaviness in his chest shifted, not gone but sharper now. Focused. He rose to his feet and crossed the room, each quiet step steadying him a little more. He reached the desk, eyes tracing the open scroll, then the rolled ones stacked beside it. Lines connected in his head, one after another, forming a chain of possibilities. He exhaled. That could work. The afternoon sun hung warm and lazy over the Hokage monument, painting the forest in gold. Deep behind the mountain, in a quiet clearing cut off from any footpaths, Kaito knelt with 2 fingers pressed to the ground. His eyes were closed, his expression tranquil, the soft markings of slug sage mode etched across his face. 2 adamantine chains snaked from his back, drilling deep into the earth like hunting serpents. Seconds passed. Then both chains jolted tight at once. Kaito's eyes opened. A small, sharp grin tugged his lips. Got you. The chains retracted violently. The earth split open. With a violent crack, the ground erupted and 2 pale bodies were ripped out of the soil. White Zetsu, dragged up like weeds torn from their roots. The chains bound them mid-air, wrapping their limbs tight. Both Zetsu thrashed in panic, yellow eyes snapping to Kaito. You, one rasped. You're the one who's been picking us off, the other hissed, struggling uselessly. Kaito rose, dusting dirt from his knee. The sage markings faded from his skin as he stretched lazily. Well, he said, maybe don't sneak around my home if you don't want to get caught, you know. You shouldn't even be able to sense us, one Zetsu spat. The detection barrier never picked us up. How? Kaito stomped lightly on the ground. A pulse of chakra rippled out. The cracked earth smoothed instantly, filling itself in. He raised an eyebrow. I don't have to explain anything to you. The Zetsu went silent for half a heartbeat, then one let out a low, humorless chuckle. It doesn't matter. You won't get anything out of. Kaito stepped forward, pressing a palm to each of their chests. Seal markings flared instantly. I know Obito and Madara want to revive the Ten-Tails, he said. Both White Zetsu's eyes widened in raw shock. You what? How? But the seals pulsed, and their bodies went rigid. Their eyes rolled back as consciousness snapped out like a blown candle. Kaito let out a quiet breath. All right. Let's go. In an instant, he vanished with both bound bodies. The clearing fell silent again. On the outskirts of Konoha, Kaito flashed through the forest, the Zetsu bodies dangling behind him by chakra chains. Trees blurred past as he leapt from branch to branch until he dropped onto a cracked, overgrown path. Before him stood a half-rotten torii gate barely holding itself up. Kaito clicked his tongue. Yeah. Nobody's touched this place in forever. He stepped through the arch. A ruined Uzumaki temple lay beyond, swallowed by vines and neglect. Broken tiles littered the courtyard. Moss covered everything else. Kaito moved deeper inside, the shadows lengthening around him. Mom's gonna cry if she sees this place, he muttered. Probably punch something too. A soft pop sounded as a clone appeared at his side. The clone looked around, unimpressed. Nope. I'm not fixing all this. Kaito shrugged. It's for Mom, you know. Imagine how happy she'll be. The clone groaned loudly. This place is a wreck. And you're not doing it alone, Kaito said casually. I'll make, 50 clones. Maybe 100. That's still US doing the work. The clone snapped. Kaito ignored him and walked inside the main hall. He froze. A wall of masks stared back at him. Dust-covered. Untouched. Preserved by ancient fuinjutsu. Each mask had an eerie design, elongated features, hollow eyes, twisted expressions. The clone stepped beside him and muttered, "They all look creepy. Which one's the death god one again?" Kaito frowned, scanning slowly. No idea. They all have 2 horns. So not helpful. He moved along the rows. Something tugged at him. A mask on the far right. 3rd row. His hand twitched. That one. A chakra chain extended and gently pulled the mask down into his hand. The clone peered over his shoulder. Seriously? They all look like nightmares. Yeah, Kaito said quietly. But this one feels wrong. And wrong meant right. He turned toward the door. Start listing repairs. I'll be back. The clone stared at the collapsing roof. I hate my life. Kaito vanished. Inside Minato's old safe house, now Kaito's secret lab, clones worked like moving shadows. Along one wall sat 10 unconscious white zetsu, each tightly restrained in stasis seals. Another one lay on a medical bed with tracking seals covering its body. Kaito appeared on the landing platform, mask in hand. The clone kneeling by the scroll looked up. You got it. Yeah, Kaito said. Let's begin. 2 clones dragged the chosen zetsu into the center, forcing it upright. Another clone took the mask from Kaito. Kaito nodded once. The clone placed the Shinigami mask over the zetsu's face, and jumped back. Instantly, dark chakra exploded outward. The zetsu screamed as its body twisted unnaturally. The seals binding it shattered. A suffocating, demonic presence filled the air, cold and hungry. Kaito felt the temperature drop. He heard a faint whisper, a laugh. The zetsu's stomach split open as the Shinigami's power surged through it. Then, shhk. The clone dashed forward, ripped the mask off, and decapitated the zetsu in one clean motion. The body collapsed. Silence. Think it worked? The clone asked. Kaito stared at the corpse. The air still tasted wrong. Finally, he nodded slightly. Yeah, I think so. He stepped toward the Edo Tensei scroll and knelt. A vial of blood rolled between his fingers. He pressed it to the seal. Ink lines flared bright, racing across the floor, forming the signature reanimation circle. The kneeling zetsu inside jerked as the sealing marks activated. Kaito steadied his breath. His palm touched the center of the array. Reanimation jutsu. The room vibrated. The zetsu's body twitched violently, then relaxed. Then began to change shape as the jutsu took hold, pulling a soul back into the world. And Kaito watched, eyes sharp, chest tight. This was the first step in fixing everything he'd broken. The first step to saving Naruto. Saving everyone. He didn't blink. Not even once. I can feel the Shinigami. Even hear it, Kaito thought. The zetsu screamed as its stomach split open, flesh tearing in an ugly, unnatural way. For a beat, the room froze, then Kaito's clone blurred forward. In one fluid motion he ripped the mask off the zetsu's face and drove a kunai clean through its neck. The pale head rolled across the floor, the body slumped with a dull thud. The clone straightened, breathing shallow. You think it worked? Kaito stared at the corpse a long moment, silence heavy and cold around them. Finally he gave a slow nod. Yeah, I think so. But there's only one way to know. He moved to the scroll spread on the floor and knelt. From his pouch he drew a small vial of blood and smeared it across the seal. Immediately the inked kanji flared, black lines racing outward, carving an intricate pattern that bloomed until a wide circle enclosed the kneeling, bound white zetsu. Kaito closed his eyes, found his breath, and opened them again, sharp resolved. He slammed his palm to the seal. Reanimation jutsu. The moment his hand hit the circle, the array flared into blinding white. The stasis around the zetsu shuddered and broke, Dust and dirt swirled into a vortex that swallowed the figure whole. Inside that spinning haze, a shape cohered, slow, inexorable. When the particles settled, a man stood where the Zetsu had knelt. Minato Namikaze blinked, face blank, body still as the jutsu finished sewing his essence back into flesh. Kaito's clone leaned close, voice a whisper. "You think it worked?" Kaito's throat tightened. "Yeah." Minato's eyes refocused. He looked down at his hands, confusion folding into recognition. "Edo-tensei?" He lifted his head and stared straight at Kaito. His features softened. "Is that you, Kaito?" Kaito swallowed. "Yeah, it's me, Dad. Good to see you, you know." Minato's smile was small, warm. He stepped forward and pressed a hand to Kaito's head the same way he used to when Kaito was small. "You've grown. How old are you now?" 15, Kaito answered. Minato paused, a slow breath leaving him. 10 years. It's been that long. Pride warmed his voice. "You've turned out to be quite the shinobi." Then his gaze slid to Kaito's bedside table, and it tightened. "How's Naruto?" Kaito blinked back tears he hadn't had time to let fall. "He's fine. Like Mom. Full of noise and trouble. He should be home. Mom's teaching him fuinjutsu today." Minato stilled, the smile faltering. "Kushina." Kaito rubbed his face. "She's alive, Dad." Minato's disbelief softened into something fragile. "How?" Kaito met his father's eyes and told him, slowly, everything. How he'd awakened a Kekii Genkai, heel bite, how he'd used it to save Kushina that night. How he and the family had survived when the other timeline had not. Minato listened, brows furrowing as the story widened. When Kaito mentioned the lab and the white Zetsu lined against the wall, Minato's face hardened. "You summoned me," Minato said, scanning the room. He stepped closer to the Zetsu. "But why? And you didn't tell your mother?" Kaito cut in, blunt. "She doesn't know. I wanted to bring you back. Properly. Not just Edo-tensei." Minato stared at the pale, planted bodies. "That seal. It imprints a will. It forces a soul into another vessel." Kaito lowered his head. "I know." Minato's jaw tightened. "I'm disappointed. To toy with the natural order, to use others as tools." "Wait, Dad, I didn't sacrifice anyone," Kaito snapped. His hands gestured to the Zetsu. "They're not people. They're plants, cloned. I used them because they were available." Minato's stern line softened a degree as he reached out, placing a steadying hand on Kaito's head. "Still, be careful. Bend nature too far and it snaps back." Kaito's breath hitched. The walls of guilt he'd been holding up cracked, and his voice broke. "Everything's changing. I thought I could fix things with what I remembered from that other timeline, but it just made things worse. I don't know how to stop it." Minato's eyes narrowed. "The timeline." Kaito wiped his cheek with the back of his sleeve and nodded. He told Minato about the dreams, visions of the other future, how he'd used that knowledge to sway events, putting Tsunade in the seat of Hokage, exposing Danzo, rescuing clans. He confessed the consequences, how his interference had sped up enemies' plans and twisted outcomes he couldn't have foreseen. Minato listened, absorbing each detail, the lines on his face deepening. "When you say Akatsuki moves earlier," Minato murmured, 2 years earlier, Naruto won't be ready." Kaito's nod was a hard thing. "They'll come for the Biju sooner. They'll come for Naruto. I made choices meant to save people, but they rearranged the board. If Naruto and Sasuke don't meet Hagoromo in time, they won't get that power-up. We might not be able to stop what's coming." Minato inhaled slowly. "So what do you want, Kaito?" Kaito met his father's gaze, steadier now. "I need you. You're stronger than anyone else I can think of who could train up fast enough. If you train, really train, for 4 years, I think you can reach heights to stand against the worst of them. With Kuroma's chakra and sage mode, you could be the counterbalance." Minato's brow tightened at the audacity, and the truth, of the request. "Even then," he said quietly, "we're only buying time. Kagaya Ishiki, These aren't simple problems. Kaito swallowed hard. I know. If all else fails, I have an idea. Dangerous, probably impossible. We might be able to artificially recreate Six Paths chakra by combining all the Biju's chakra and layering senjutsu on top of it. In theory, it could be the same power Hagoromo grants. Minato's eyes widened. You're talking about recreating the sage's power? That's blasphemy, or genius. Or both. Kaito let out a shaky breath. Theory only. That's why I need you. Not just muscle, your mind, your leadership. If we fail, I don't know what'll happen. But if we succeed, maybe we have a chance. Minato held his son's gaze long and hard. The weight of it was a living thing between them, guilt and resolve braided together. Finally he nodded once, the motion small but absolute. Then tell me everything. Every detail. We start planning now. I can feel the Shinigami. Even hear it, Kaito thought. The Zetsu's cry tore the air as its stomach split, flesh rending in an unnatural wet sound. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Then Kaito's clone moved, fast, brutal, and precise. He ripped the mask free and drove a kunai through the creature's neck. The pale head rolled. The body collapsed with a dull thud. The clone straightened, breathing hard. You think it worked? Kaito watched the corpse long enough for the silence to thicken. He finally nodded. Yeah. But there's only one way to know. He knelt at the spread scroll, drew a vial of blood, and daubed it across the seal. The inked kanji snapped to life, black lines racing outward, weaving a circle that swallowed the bound white Zetsu kneeling within it. Kaito closed his eyes to find steady breath, opened them with resolve, then slammed his palm onto the seal. Reanimation jutsu. Light flared. The stasis shattered. Dust and dirt twisted into a whirlpool that billowed and condensed until a human shape resolved out of it. Minato Namikaze stood there, blank, slow to focus, then recognition sharpened in his gaze. Edo Tensei? He looked at Kaito. Is that you, Kaito? Kaito's chest tightened in a way that felt almost like a physical blow. Yeah. It's me, Dad. He swallowed, voice thin. Good to see you. Minato's features loosened into a small, uncertain smile. He stepped forward and, old habit resurfacing, pressed his palm to Kaito's head like a parent used to steadying a child. You've grown. How old are you now? 15. Minato exhaled. 10 years. Pride threaded his tone. You've turned out well. Then the question came quietly, how's Naruto? Kaito let a memory slip free and then closed it back up. He's fine. Like Mom, loud, stubborn, a pain. He's at home, Mom's teaching him Fuinjutsu. Minato's smile faltered. Kushina? Kaito nodded. She's alive. The admission landed between them like a secret. Minato's disbelief softened into something fragile and wary. He scanned the room, eyes settling on the line of pale forms against the wall. You called me back for a reason, Minato said, voice even. Why summon me? And you didn't tell your mother? Kaito met Minato's gaze. She doesn't know. I need you back, really back. Not Edo Tensei. I want to revive you properly. Minato's eyes darkened as they followed Kaito's gesture to the white Zetsu. That seal. It forces a will into a vessel. It imprints a soul. Kaito didn't flinch. I know. Minato's jaw tightened. You're playing with dangerous things. Using others as tools, whether they're plant or person, bends the world. It snaps back. Panic that had sat under Kaito's ribs broke through. I didn't sacrifice anyone. They're Zetsu clones. I used them because they're there. Because I needed something to anchor the seal. Minato reached out and laid a steady hand on Kaito's head. The sternness eased a fraction. Be careful. You've carried too much for too long. You don't have to do it alone. Kaito let the tautness in his voice give way. Everything's shifting. I tried to fix things by using what I remembered from another timeline and I made it worse. Plans got sped up. The Akatsuki will move earlier. Naruto won't be ready. I don't know what to do. Minato's face folded into thought. Tell me everything, he said. Every detail. And Kaito did. Fast, raw, the confession spilling out, the other timeline, the choices he made, the rescues, the seals, the way a single change had cascaded into a dozen horrors. How breaking one chain had loosened many more. How Obito, Madara, Black Zetsu, the hunt for the Biju, all of it had been dragged forward, teeth bared sooner than anyone should face it. When Kaito finished, Minato listened with the patience of someone cataloging a storm. So what do you want from me? Minato asked at last. Kaito met his father's eyes without flinching. We need you. You can train fast. 4 years. If you train like hell, you could reach levels to contest the worst of them. With Kurama's cooperation and sage training, you can be our counterweight. If Naruto and Sasuke don't get Hagoromo's power, we need someone who can hold the line. Minato's brow rose. Even if I reach that, it's only buying time. Kaito nodded. I know. If all else fails, I have a last resort. It's reckless, maybe impossible. Recreate 6 paths power artificially. Combine all the Biju chakra, layer senjutsu, simulate what Hagoromo gave. It's theory, nothing more. That's why I need you, your strength, your head, your trust. Minato studied him a long moment, then gave a small, solemn nod. Then tell me everything. We start planning. Minato stood, hand finding Kaito's shoulder. When his palm closed, Kaito felt it like a promise. They spoke next of logistics, how to hide Minato's return, who needed to know, what cover stories to plant. Kaito outlined a plan. Only Tsunade, Shikoku, and Fugaku would be told at first. The fewer who knew, the less risk of panic that could accelerate the enemy's timetable. There were other confessions, too. Kaito told Minato about Karen, the girl from Kusagakure he'd pulled out of dying hands, about the heel bite, about the lab. Minato softened at the mention of Karen, rubbing Kaito's head as any father would. Then came another blow, Obito. Kaito laid out what he'd uncovered, how the masked man was Obito Uchiha, how Madara had saved and twisted him, how Rin's death had been manipulated into a trigger. Minato's face crumpled with the weight of it. He swallowed guilt and fury in the same breath. You were his teacher, Kaito said quietly. None of it was your fault. Minato closed his eyes and exhaled. Responsibility sits heavy. But if he's fallen this far, it's my duty to try and bring him back, or stop him. Kaito's fists clenched. If he hurts my family, if he hurts Mom, Naruto, Hataru, he's dead. Minato met his gaze. Fair. They let that hang, heavy and subdued. Kaito added, almost ruefully, that Kakashi already knew, just enough to be dangerous. Minato's features loosened when Kaito revealed that Kakashi was finally starting to live again, even finding someone to care for him. For a moment the room grew lighter with small human relief. Then Kaito said what had to be said next, Kurama. He led Minato into the mental space, a place where the great Biju could be met without walls. The Nine Tails loomed enormous and ancient in that mindscape, far bigger than the fragment they'd met before. Kaito bowed with an awkward, earnest humility and apologized for human cruelty past and present. Kurama's immense bulk shifted, ears twitching. He snorted a sound halfway between amusement and grudging acknowledgement. Minato followed Kaito's apology with one of his own, the Duke of a different age forced to reckon with a creature he'd once only feared. Kurama, to their surprise, agreed to help. He agreed to donate chakra and to contact the others, with one caveat, discretion. Do not spread this like wildfire, too many changes could rip the fabric of events apart further. Kaito sealed a portion of Kurama's chakra into the mark he'd prepared, alongside his own and a core of natural energy. When Kurama pressed his fist, massive warm, against Kaito's palm, power poured into the sigil like a river finding a well. Kurama warned the seal would hold only as long as they didn't use all the stored chakra at once. Minato offered to become Kurama's vessel to give them access, but Kaito refused. Naruto had to keep Kurama. They agreed instead to have Minato carry a smaller channel to be used if necessary. Kurama shrank and reshaped, a Titanic being folded into the harmless guise of a regular fox so the world wouldn't notice. One of Kaito's clones spirited the little fox away, and Kaito returned to the bedside scroll. Minato placed his palm against the seal and funneled his chakra into it. The brand lit, crawling from scroll to the waiting white Zetsu like a living thing asserting itself. As Minato withdrew his hand, his Edo body trembled. Ash and dust flaked from him as the process completed. Minato smiled, gentle, proud, and then crumbled. The dust fell silent to the floor. Kaito stood very still and watched the ash drift, a hollow ache in his chest and resolve hardening behind it. She let out a long sigh and reached for the sake bottle, pouring herself another cup. She pressed her finger on the calm seal embedded in her desk. "Get me shikoku and fugoku," she ordered. Then Tsunade downed her drink in one gulp. ChatGPT said. Kurama snorted. In a puff of smoke the little form shifted, fur smoothed, tails folded, and a sleek red fox stood in its place, unassuming, alert, eyes still sharp. One of Kaito's shadow clones stepped forward. "I'll take you out. Hold tight." He set a palm to the fox's back. In the next breath, both vanished. Kaito turned back to the scroll. "Place your hand here, Dad. Channel chakra into the seal." Minato set his palm down and focused. The circle flared white, then slid from the parchment like living light and stamped itself onto the pale Zetsu on the bed. As the brand took hold, Minato's Edo form trembled. Ash peeled from him in slow flakes, his shape broke apart piece by piece. The seal burned into the Zetsu's chest, a semicircle no larger than a coin. Minato lifted his hand, smiling gently. "Then, I'll see you soon, son." His body shuddered once more and crumbled into dust, a soft shower over the floor. Kaito stood in the hush, staring at the pile of ash and the pale, empty Zetsu corpse. A clone barreled in, tablet flashing. "It worked. Karma's working, you know," he crowed, practically shoving the screen at Kaito. The progress bar blinked, 0.21%. ETA, 6 days, 23 hours, 55 minutes. Kaito nodded. Relief eased his shoulders. "Good. It actually worked. I'm glad Dad agreed, thought he might refuse." Another clone grinned. "We didn't invent karma. We reverse-engineered it and tweaked it. Big difference." Kaito rubbed his neck. "Maybe for us. Hope Mom understands, though." He glanced at the clock. "Huh, already 7? Been here 3 hours." "We had to explain the whole damn history of Shinobi to Dad," the tablet holder said with a weary shrug. "Took a while." "What now, boss?" asked another. "I'll drop the bodies at Tsunade's. You two clean up and keep watch. And get something for Kurama to eat. He'll want food when he gets back." Kaito jerked a thumb toward the pale corpse lying nearby. "Don't bring that one to her. It looks dead. Use the other." A clone peered at the severed head and shivered. They didn't bleed. No organs either. Weird. One of the clones, too casual for the room, scratched his chin. "I've always wondered what Zetsu taste like." Kaito froze, then slowly rubbed his forehead. "Please don't test that theory." He looked at the tablet holder. "Keep an eye on him, dispense him if he tries anything." "Hey, I was joking," the accused muttered. "Only you joke like that," the tablet holder said dryly. Kaito sealed the last body into a storage scroll with a soft pulse of chakra and rolled it tight. "The day I start wondering what a Zetsu tastes like is the day I kill myself," he muttered, shouldering his pouch. "Clean up. Watch the perimeter. Don't screw around." "Got it, boss," they echoed, and Kaito vanished in a flash. Evening had draped Konoha in orange and long shadows. In the Hokage's office, Tsunade finally set down the last stack of paperwork and sighed with satisfaction. "All done," she murmured, stretching. She reached for a sake bottle, poured a cup, and then Kaito appeared in the middle of the room. "Yo," he said, casual as ever. Tsunade pinched the bridge of her nose. "What did you do this time?" Kaito blinked. "Huh? What do you mean?" She didn't let him off easy. "You only barge in like this when you've already done something stupid or are about to." "Which is it?" Kaito opened his mouth to protest, then closed it. Tsunade listed off his offenses with a dry, amused patience until he shut up completely. Can it wait? I just finished, she groaned. It's village security, Kaito said. That got her attention. She tossed back the sake in one gulp and waved him forward. He unrolled a scroll on her floor. Smoke puffed, 2 white Zetsu bodies shimmered into being atop the array. Tsunade stepped in close, eyes hard. What are they? Clones. Spies. Akatsuki, Kaito said. I found one near my house and another close to your office. Tsunade's jaw tightened. They slipped the barrier? They hide underground. Even the detection team missed them. I only saw them because I was using Sage mode. Kaito's tone was flat. I've got clones patrolling. I'm also working on a new barrier that can flag them. How long? Tsunade asked. A month, 2 at most. Faster if mom helps. He pressed his palm to the scroll. A black tablet popped up. And look at this. Tsunade took it and skimmed the readout. The severed Zetsu head scan scrolled by, no organs, cell structure like plant tissue, saturated in yang chakra, and capable of would release at a strength near Tenzo's. Her face tightened. This is, she started, then stopped. Orochimaru? Danzo? Are these failed experiments using my grandfather's cells? Kaito shrugged. Different. Adaptable. Their cells merge with hosts and adjust. Parasites that integrate rather than simply consume. Tsunade's clinical calm split into electric curiosity. If we can isolate this, it could stabilize Kimimara's condition, she murmured. It might even help Itachi, or be used for prosthetics. Kaito's mind ticked. You could make prosthetics from this, boost Shinobi reserves. Tsunade looked up, surprised by the idea, then let the professional side of her take over. I'll run tests. Extensive ones. This could change a lot. She rolled the scroll and took it. The weight of the work resettled on her shoulders. She reached for the sake again and downed another cup, then jabbed the comms seal in her desk. Get me Shikoku and Fugoku, she ordered. Then, with a heavy, exasperated sigh, she looked at Kaito. You just had to dump more work on my desk, didn't you? Kaito scratched his head sheepishly. Couldn't resist. Tsunade shot him a look, then tilted her chin. Go home and rest. Finish the barrier. Don't make me deal with Kushina storming in here because you fainted again. Kaito grinned. All right. I'll leave it to you. He blinked out of sight. Tsunade set the tablet down, poured herself one last cup, and readied the calls she'd promised. Because when Kaito brought trouble, it came with questions that needed answers and a clock that refused to slow down. As Tsunade lifted the cup to her lips again, the office finally quiet, a soft breeze drifted through the cracked window, cool, steady, almost cleansing. She let out a long breath, staring at the scroll Kaito had handed her. That kid, she muttered, half irritated, half proud. Then she pushed herself up from the chair, shoulders squaring as her expression hardened. The world was shifting faster than anyone realized, but as long as Kaito kept fighting and she stood at the helm of Konoha, they'd face whatever came next. The war to protect the future had already begun. And this time, they wouldn't be caught unprepared. And that wraps up today's episode of What If Naruto Had a Big Brother. Kaito's journey is only getting more intense, and the future of the ninja world is changing with every step he takes. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see what happens next, make sure to hit that like button, share the video with other Naruto fans, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Drop your theories in the comments. I love reading them. See you in the next episode.